It's time for Development History 101 once more, gamers. This game's development cycle is one that's more toward the evolution from a rehash to a completely new game. After Super Mario Galaxy went on sale in all regions in November 2007, as well with the sales growing over the weeks of the game's release, Shigeru Miyamoto felt that the game was well perfected in the 3D setting, and he did not want to abandon it and wait for another main Mario title in the next 5 or 6 years or so. So, he got together the development team of the first game, and he ordered them to make a follow-up. The follow-up was planned to do variations and new twists on the currently created galaxies in the first game, and the plan was to call the game more Super Mario Galaxy, after Super Mario Galaxy 1.5 evolved from the conceptual stage, and the development time was to be slated for 1 year only. During that time, many newer ideas and elements were brought up to be added into the game, that it was then decided to make the game a fleshed-out sequel, rather than a follow-up that is modified. Thus, the development took longer and about 2.5 years to complete. The interesting fact is that the game's lead programmer, Takeshi Hayakawa, created a development tool in which each staff member could easily create their own levels without the need to wait for programmers, and all of them were incorporated in the final game. Miyamoto even compared this game to The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, and he stated that both games used the same engine as their predecessors, but built up on their foundations. The game debuted during the Nintendo press conference at E3 2009, and Miyamoto stated that the game was very far along in development, but is slated for a mid-2010 release because of new Super Mario Bros. Wii releasing during the 2009 holiday season. One other fact that Miyamoto stated in a later interview was that the game was going back to its roots of previous Mario games where plot becomes less focused than the first game. Reggie Fils-Aimé even stated that the game's levels are 95 to 99% original than the last one, where there are a short few used for some different objectives in the sequel. Super Mario Galaxy 2 officially released for the Nintendo Wii in North America on May 23, 2010, Japan on May 27, 2010, Europe on June 11, 2010, and in Australia on July 1, 2010. Overall, the game is met with really high and universal praise from gamers and critics alike, and it is even declared as the most highly and critically acclaimed game of all time, thanks to Metacritic. Currently, Super Mario Galaxy 2 has sold nearly over 3.4 million copies worldwide. It's a very impressive number to start, and it will just keep getting better and better with the many years to come. To be quite honest, I can hardly find anything wrong with this game, as the only flaw that I could find is that human error comes back in full force. Like I said, any mistake you make during the gameplay is entirely your fault, no question. If you hit a wall while riding on a bird, it's your fault. If you fall off a platform when balancing on a ball, it's your fault. If you fall into a poison pit, quicksand, or fall upwards when you are upside down, it's entirely your fault. I'm serious. I could hardly find anything wrong with this game, except for some parts in the game that aggravated me, but they became extremely overlooked very fast. Overall, I have no complaints whatsoever. Okay, how much superbalicious candy is delivered in this game? A galaxy filled, if you pardon the pun. What I really enjoyed about this game is the fact that you can play as both Mario and Luigi without playing through them with their own stories by themselves, like the last game did. It showed that there was more cooperation with the Mario Brothers since the days of old and new with the new Super Mario Bros. Games. What if there was some way you can play as Luigi permanently, without having to find him in various galaxies? That's quite simple. All you have to do is complete the game's story, and you are given a letter from him to play as him permanently during the second playthrough. Yes! The gameplay was another bonus as it retained the same solid controls as the first game, but improving on its foundations with newer elements in the sequel. For example, I thought that Yoshi was pulled off perfectly, as I loathed his involvement in Super Mario Sunshine, as I felt that he was just there with nothing interesting in the gameplay. I even found that riding on the Fluzzard, or the giant bird, and the balancing of the ball to be a lot more fun than before. One major plus about those is the fact that race surfing is gone. That's an automatic win for that part of the gameplay. Even the recycled and new power-ups were really fun, and the boss battles were expanded and much fun to play. I seriously haven't had this much fun fighting so many bosses since Final Fantasy VI on the Super Nintendo. The gameplay has so many things that I enjoyed that I thought it was pulled off perfectly. Now, I'm not being a sucker about it because I am very serious with my words. The design aspect was also pulled off with flying colors, and the newer stages were livelier and created well. I liked how each development team member created their own galaxies, and it expanded beyond the creativity of just one man. Plus, I really enjoyed it that you got to play segments in 2.5D than just 3D. It added variety in a 3D Mario game for once. Man, I would love to see more of my favorite games get a 2.5D treatment than just Mario, Sonic, Donkey Kong, and Sparkster. The characters look fantastic, and the enemies and bosses are just colorful to look at. My favorite additions to the enemy roster had to be the Hammer Bros and the Boomerang Bros. They really gave me a hard time in Super Mario Bros. 3, that they each became a hated villain that I really enjoy. The Lakidus and Spinies are welcomed in their return too, but the newer ones are acceptable as well. I even thought that the challenge was presented quite well. The enemies you fight, the levels you go through, and the puzzles you have to solve only upgraded itself to have more intricacy than before. I like it, and I thought it was pulled off very nicely. Finally, let me talk about my most favorite thing about this game, and here it is. You know that you can collect 120 Power Stars to complete the game, right? Well, did you know that after you do that, you can go and collect over 120 more? That's right! Those green Power Stars that you have been wondering about are the green Prankster comments that you gain access to after you obtain the first half of all the Power Stars that are in the game. The locations to obtain them are very tricky and challenging, as you have to use both your vision and hearing to know where their locations are. I mean, a grand total of 242 Power Stars in this game? That's like twice the amount in the 3D Mario game, and you will definitely be delighted for that extremely high factor in the game's replay value. Seriously, the game's qualities are more than meets the eye, and they all catch me hook, line, and sinker. I'm not kidding. Let's face it, any way that you look at this game, it is truly a masterpiece. It builds up on everything that you liked about the first Mario Galaxy, and its creativity and replay value just only builds up the gameplay from becoming a pointless rehash. Once again, this game successfully re-establishes what a 3D Mario game is supposed to be, as it truly defines the evolution of platformers, and it is one that keeps true to its roots in both the 2D and 3D settings. With the challenges, addicting gameplay, stellar design, great sound, and a more simplified concept, this game will leave you begging for more stuff to be added in than just what you get. If you haven't bought this game, then definitely shame on you for that too. Just don't listen to me about this whole review and go pick this game up right now, as it is truly worth your time and your money. With that being said, I am proud to give Super Mario Galaxy 2 on the Nintendo Wii an 11 out of 10, meaning that this game achieved masterpiece status, and is definitely one that's going to be rewarded with RRPG's seal of approval. There's no doubt about it. Super Mario Galaxy 2 definitely goes beyond the 10 out of 10 rating system, and it should be rewarded with something amazing. Now with the new seal of approval status delivered by me, this game is easily declared as my 2010 Game of the Year. Now if you're listening, Miyamoto, I strongly urge you not to give up on Super Mario Galaxy just yet. With 2 successful games, I can easily smell this becoming a trilogy of AAA titles of 3D Mario games on the Wii by urging you to create Super Mario Galaxy 3. However, the point is that you delivered another grand slam in the Mario franchise, and I am definitely looking forward to seeing where you take the world's famous video game plumber in the future. Great job to you and your team at Nintendo, Miyamoto. This game was definitely well worth the make. Well, I think that'll do it for the Super Mario Galaxy games on the Wii. Now, don't get me wrong in thinking that I'm not going to review any more Mario games in the future, because I will. But for now, take care of yourselves, and be on the lookout for more RRPG reviews, and with the next episode as I take a look at the original versus remake of Castlevania Rondo of Blood and Castlevania The Dracula X Chronicles, coming this Halloween. This is RRPG, and I'll catch you guys next time. Later, gamers!